Which version of the shape is the best, in your opinion? Let's find out. What's going on, guys? This is a video that I've been waiting and waiting and waiting to make because for me, this is a great conversation to have. And we've actually talked about this a bit in some live streams, but especially in different polls on the channel in the community tab. But here is the question for you guys. When we talk about Michael Myers, there's been many actors to portray him over the years, and there's been a lot of great performances. But I want to talk about specifically three, and that is the OG himself, Nick Castle, Tyler Mane, and of course, James Jude Courtney. Now, these three portrayals of Michael Myers have a lot of differences in them, but of course some similarities. To me, it's an interesting conversation because all three of them, I think, made a lot of impact on the series, but also in the way that they portrayed Michael. Now, when we talk about Nick Castle, he's the OG. He's the one that started it all. He's the one that laid out the blueprint. And for anyone who's a huge fan of Halloween 78, like yours truly, when you think of Michael Myers, there are so many moments in that movie that I think of, and I see Nick Castle as the Shape doing what the Shape does. It was a fantastic performance. Now, to be honest, and Nick Castle's been up front with this, and so have the other filmmakers and people on the set and so forth, you had other people that helped with that portrayal. You had people that were doing extra shots, you had people that were doing faraway shots like Deborah Hill herself, but we all know that Nick Castle was the main portrayal of Michael Myers in 78. When I think of my favorite moments in that movie with him playing that character, they're just so iconic. They're still iconic after all of these years, and they still stand up to any of the other actors that have portrayed Michael Myers. Then you talk about Tyler and his performance and portrayal of Michael Myers in the Rob Zombie movies. And obviously, we've talked about all of these movies quite a bit, and we've talked about them with you guys, and especially in live streams and videos. But with Tyler, his performance was just so intense. It was so angry. It was just beast-like, and I think that was a big thing, that the way that Rob Zombie wanted Michael to be portrayed in those two movies, they wanted to show this evil inside of this young boy who became a man, and how it totally transformed him, not just in the way that he was, but even physically. I mean, Tyler Mane being such a big dude, 6 foot whatever, 8 or whatever he is, it was just something that we hadn't seen before from Michael. And in a lot of the kill scenes and so forth, you can literally hear that intensity, you can hear that anger, you can hear the grunting, and it's almost like, to me, and especially when I think about those two movies, to me, it's almost as if Michael is taking out his aggression on his victims, taking out his frustration and his anger. Now, in those two movies, we know that his home life was just dog shit. He was brought up in a household that was full of just ugh.
I hate you. And I hate you too. You see this?
Right? And the only thing that he really had to hold on to was his mother, played by Sherry Moon Zombie, and his sister, who we come to find out is Laurie Strode. And so everything else in his life, even his school life, even his teachers and everyone else, it was nothing that was positive until he was in the care of Dr. Loomis. But even that was too late. I think he was already, beginning to withdraw. And in the movie they showed when he just basically just shut off. And I think that what Rob Zombie was trying to do with Tyler's performance is just show that that buildup. He gets to this point where he's shut off. He's at the lowest point of low, and then when he escapes Smith's Grove, he just totally just shoots off like a rocket with this intensity and this anger and this brutality and this beast-like presence. Now, you take that, and there's that, right? Which is a lot more intense in a lot of ways than what Nick did in 78. But then you come into the David Gordon Green trilogy with James Jude Courtney and his portrayal of Michael. And to me, what was interesting about the way that this portrayal was number one, it was an older Michael. So that's one thing that I think sometimes a lot of people don't talk about enough. And even myself, sometimes I forget about that. This is a Michael in his 60s. He was, he was locked away in Smith's Grove for 40 years, right? So now you have this 60-something-year-old man who escapes. And I've talked about this in a previous video, which if you haven't checked it out, check it out. To me, when he escapes, it's pretty much, hey, I'm going to do my last rites. I'm going to finish off my bucket list. And that's what, to me, the trilogy was really about, him just going all out, one last hurrah, getting back to that house and so forth. But in the midst of all of that, this portrayal of Michael, it was very along the lines of Nick Castle, but also it was matured. You know what I'm saying? Like, this was a man that was incarcerated for 40 years, and then he broke out, and then he's got to get down to business. In other words, he doesn't have time to really stalk around and to creep around like he did back in 78, as far as the character is concerned. So he had this intensity to him that was different than Tyler Mane's portrayal, because Tyler Mane, his intensity was based from anger. It seemed based from frustration and anger, disappointment, and those type of negative emotions. The way that James Jude Courtney portrayed Michael, his intensity seemed like it was more of a natural thing. It seemed like it was more of just what he is, his essence, to just do what he does. He's a shark. He's walking down the street. If there's a bunch of people in his path, you're just gonna roll the dice. You might get caught up, you may not. And I think that was one thing that was really interesting about the way that James portrayed Michael. Like, there was this intensity, but it was just right underneath the surface, which to me, I think that makes Michael even more scary, because you don't really know how to gauge him. When you look at the Rob Zombie films, there were some great kill scenes in those movies. In Halloween 2, the opening scene, the dream sequence in the hospital, that was just brutal. And then, of course, he's stalking Laurie. He's coming after Laurie, but he is pissed off. He is on some anger shit. That's what that Michael Myers is all about, which is scary. But at the same time, when I look at it, from the outside, just as a viewer, when I look at it and I see a 6'9" guy who's pissed off and angry and grunting and so forth, it makes sense to me. Like, I know what to expect. When I look at someone like James Jude Courtney, who's, I think he's 6'2" or whatever, 200 pounds, 210 pounds, whatever. You don't see that outward anger that's just so intense. You just see a man that's just moving and just doing what he does. It's very methodical, and of course we know that we don't understand the reason for it. And again, that's scary too. So we've got these three different portrayals of Michael Myers. We've got 6 films. We've got 78. We've got the 2 Rob Zombie films, and then we've got the 3 David Gordon Green films. So to me, I'm curious what people think, because I've done multiple polls and I've had different answers for the different polls. Some of them kind of run along the same lines as far as the results. But for you guys, what do you think was the best portrayal of Michael Myers? And I don't mean what is the best movie out of those 6 films, because then that changes everything. I just want to know, what was the best portrayal of Michael Myers from those 3 actors: Nick Castle, Tyler Mane, and then James Jude Courtney. It's a conversation I think is so interesting, because again, there's so many angles to these performances and what they did, and all of them had great things they did, and admittedly all of them had things that, well, maybe this could have been done a little bit differently or done this way to kind of convey this or that. But yeah, I would love for you guys, let me know in the comment section down below, which performance of Michael Myers is the best. Is it Tyler? Is it Nick? Is it James? Let me know down in the comment section down below. And also let me know why. That's the other part too. And that's probably just as important. Why do you think that that particular performance is the best? Try to explain that to us so we can have a discussion. I might even turn this into a live stream where we talk about these things live and pull up you guys' comments and then address you guys and so forth. So we'll see how this goes. But let me know in the comment section which performance of Michael Myers is the best. I'm not saying what's the scariest or what's the most aggressive or what feat was the most amazing or what kill was the best. I'm just saying which performance was the best and why. Let me know. Don't forget to hit the like button. It helps to support the channel and I'd appreciate it. And if you're not subscribed to the Night Watch Zone, this is the time to do it. We're having a lot of fun talking about all these wonderful things in movies and especially our beloved horror genre. So anyways, I'll catch you guys later. If you're watching this, if you're listening to this, you are the Night Watch. Peace.